time to time, you'll need to sharpen lathe chisels. In fact, you're quickly going to find out that the sharpening lathe chisel is one of the most important lathe skills that you can have. I cannot tell you how much better a sharp chisel works than a dull one. It's like night and day. A super sharp chisel is like the best day you've ever had. We've got several different ways to sharpen chisels, and one of the easiest is this little jig that you see right here. It's was invented by one of our salesmen so he could sharpen his chisels on the road. It's a pretty nifty little thing. If we come in close here, let's hang on a minute. We're gonna, yeah, there we go. It's got a number of little gewgaws and gizmos on it, and it's made just to sharpen our 5 basic chisels, which are the Skew, which is this chisel, our 2 gouges. This is a gouge. The parting tool, this, and our round nose chisel, this one. Put those back in the holder so they don't roll off. I'll start with the Skew here. First thing you should know is that there are 2 basic operations that you perform with your chisels. The first one is shearing, where you're actually cutting the wood, and the second one is scraping, where you're scraping wood fibers off. These are 2 totally different operations, and at the angles that the Shopsmith chisels come to you, they're ground at sort of a utility angle that you can use for both scraping and shearing. But it's not necessarily the best angle for either. I like to shear mostly with my Skew and my gouge, and so I have sharpened this to a much steeper angle. If you look at the chisel angles that I put on the blackboard, you can see a range on most of them. The acute angles are for shearing. As you get into the more obtuse angles, those are for scraping, or they're utility angles. The Skew rests in this groove right here, the groove in the middle of this piece. You sharpen one side of the Skew, that side, against the disc like this, and then you sharpen the other side at the opposite on the opposite side. Let me show you what I mean here. Now let me get this positioned, and I'm going to have to move this back a bit. All right. So with the point down, I put it against the surface that's closest to me and advance it up against the disc. With the point up, I put it in the surface again that is farthest away from me and advance it to the point hits the disc. Put on some eye protection. You can tell if you've adjusted this to the right angle, if you want to keep the angle that you've got, by how it scratches the surface. Now see, that's making contact with the full surface. I can see a scratch pattern all the way across the face of the chisel. So I know that I'm at the right angle. that's your basic technique. You simply take the disc sander down to its slowest possible speed so it doesn't heat up the chisel, and you just touch the chisel to the disc sander using the jig to hold it. But to get the keenest possible edge, what you've got to do is you've got to work your way up through several different grits. As the grits get finer, the edge will get keener and keener. The first, where I usually start if I'm grinding a chisel, or if a chisel is heavily damaged, there's a lot of nicks in it, is with 120 grit sandpaper. 120 is about the coarsest you want to apply to the metal, and it will quickly grind a new angle if you want to grind a new angle. It'll also quickly take the nicks out of an edge if it's badly damaged. If it isn't damaged, you don't need to start here. This is the disc that's on here right now is 240 grit. You can find this in a lot of sanding catalogs, or you can simply go to a hardware store and pick up some 240 grit there. Now, I know that the sheets that you buy at a hardware store don't cover completely the disc, but the fact is you can still use them. This is a disc right here on which I've put my final grit, 320. You'll notice that I've just put this on here with a little bit of spray adhesive, 3M77, and I can work on most of the disc as long as I stay in the sandpaper, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Okay. Let's leave the chisel sharpener where it is. Let's not touch the angle. Let's remove the 240 disc. And put the 320 discs on. Now, let me move that back in. Now, I need to know where this ends. So what I've got here is a grease pencil, a white grease pencil. I would put this against the sandpaper, and as it comes in to its furthest diameter, and then turn this on. And create a nice little white ring there. Now, as long as I stay within that white ring, I'll be on the sandpaper. So let's, I may have to move this forward. Let's take this and move it up. Be careful not to change the angle if you could possibly help it. Okay, that's going to hit the sandpaper. Now we're ready to do the same thing on 320. And that's all it takes. Now, if I wanted to, I could, and I had more discs, I could work my way up to 600. 600 is usually the highest that I go. But you can go to an automotive store and you can get grits all the way up to 2,000. You can get this thing to where you literally can see yourself in the bevel. let's put the skew away and take out the gouge. Now, I'm just going to go back for the rest of these. I'm not going to go through the grits. That's just wasting your time. What I'm going to do is just going to put the 220 back on, or the 240 rather, and we'll do the rest of the tools just on one grit. But remember that that's not the way you would do this ordinarily if you wanted the sharpest possible edge. Now, on the gouge, you use this little ledge at the front, and I'm going to adjust it to where, there we go, and a little bit. Kind of hard here. There we go. When you adjust the position of your table, you want to get the sander as close as you possibly can without actually touching the table or the jig. This gives your tool the most support. In this time, I'm going to put the chisel in here, and I'm going to put my two fingers in the pod. That's what this concavity here is called. And I'm going to hold the pod against the ledge so that I can roll the chisel back and forth. That puts an edge on this. Now, what I want to be careful to do, and I can see this happening right away, is I want to make sure that my ears stay even. These are the ears, the parts of the concavity that come up. This is the nose. This is what sticks out in the chisel. On most chisels that you use for shaping, the nose precedes the ears. Usually on the larger chisel by about 3/8 of an inch. On the smaller chisel, I let the nose proceed even more so that I can make smaller coves. But you want to keep these ears, if we'd put a square on this, even. So you want to make sure that as you're grinding, you're grinding over the whole chisel, and you're not grinding back one ear faster than the other. And that's all there is to doing the gouges. Now this will roll a burr on the edge of this, and you can easily take that out with a gouge stone or a slip stone. It's also a good idea, by the way, as you're doing this, to keep a little thing of water here in case this gets too hot. With the Shopsmith running at a slow speed, you shouldn't be all that. The chisel shouldn't get all that hot. Certainly not hot enough to burn the edge. But if it does, then you've got to cool it down quickly. One of the ways, by the way, to keep your chisels from overheating is do all your work at 120, a coarse grit. Don't try to take the nicks out or work a very dull blade at 240 grit or especially at 320 grit. The finer the grit, the faster the chisel heats. Now the parting tool is sharpened right here in this groove at the back of the jig. You just hold it in, sharpen one side, and then the other. Let me show you. There you go. Not much to that. Okay, last type of chisel. We're not going to do the small gouge because that's exactly the same as the large gouge. Last chisel is this round nose. Now this is a scraping chisel only, and as such you've got to put a very, very steep angle on this. Take this jig out, turn it around, and line it up on 0. Now here, if you were going to change the angle of this gouge, you would actually have to tilt the table. You can't just change the angle of the jig. The chisel fits in this little pivoting thing with the back of the chisel up. The top is down. Clamp it in place and try to get it as close to the pivot as possible. The closer you get to the pivot, the more of a round nose you're going to have on your round nose. Bring it forward to where it is just barely making contact. Now I've got this too far forward. I'm going to bring this back here. There we go. You always want to work on the downside of the disc. Now you can feed this chisel. There is enough give in the system that you can feed this chisel simply by pressing forward a little bit. Let's turn this on. That's that. End of process. Now, if you, I would recommend that you not take the burr off of this chisel. This will actually cut a little bit better with the burr on it. Some folks actually will take a scraper dresser and actually put a burr on it. You can also take a hard a drill bit and just run this around the edge like that, and raise the burr slightly like that, and that will cut a little bit better. Of course, the burr doesn't last very long. You have to keep doing that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to use this nifty little jig.